Alright, Marshmallows, Morning Master Mason report. Alright, so this morning we're going to start our hunt a little differently today. We are looking for physics today. Now, what I know from physics to be sure is that every once in a while, one of these math teachers will give you a little bit more than just a wave function, especially somebody like Bernoulli. Alright, Bernoulli is a really good master to kind of follow after. Not because I'm going to sign some damn list and sell my soul to him, but basically because the introduction of the form of the technique will be theirs. You're actually going to get into two pipes that either do or do not, in the congruency of what system happens here, are, well, not causally, but they are congruent, they are, a satisfies B. There's no difference in this pipe to that pipe, so they equal 0 and 1. The pressure differential will add up in approximations, but at the regular physics level of approximations, you don't really need that. And realistically, in life with the road crew, right? The road crew pipe busted under the ground, you have to dig it back up. You really don't need that shit either. We're not in the point of social engineering, of doing that form of the math. What we need is certain maths indicated in a physics here that allow us to do multiple things at a time. Let's use my math book here. We could get into psychology about Murphy, HTT Murphy, Mario, Ultra Nightmare, Doomslayer, 100%, right? Because that would be the job. It wouldn't matter what job you are. There's air in this room right now. Determine the value. Why? It's this very specific length of that room. Otherwise, we're going to be all over the road in terms of matrices and costs of how much you begin with and how other systems start. We don't do that here. One of the specific things of that answer is mathematics provides that ability to do this for you. It's tried and true, old hat, a way to say, I'm going to give you $100. This is going to be your Hutter's prize of A plus B, X plus Y, in the tubes. What happens? Okay, so you're going to get away from that, and the only real analytical way to explain that fast enough where we don't get caught in the singularity is to blow through it, is to go through the modern physics techniques, the training principles. And if you actually do the recon on this, what you'll find is that there are many similarities. They may not be identical in superposition with one another, but the mathematics is. That superposition equation to when they presented on the stage to which common core AR-150-1, AR-670-1 grooming policies come from this terminal velocity of the spectrum of A through F. Now you can set that up. It's not really a hard thing to do. This classroom is that, and so are these other things. One of the common things people miss about mathematics, not in this room, Bernoulli's congruency of this pipe, you students in this class, and this other one, is they've failed to understand that this math, modern physics, is still a psychology problem. You and students in here, physics didn't stop because of the grades that go to the board. It's going to respond to IH visual cues on, so who here understands? And dark matter, dark energy, baryonic matter. Y'all put your hands up, but more than commonly prime across the room of x prime plus y prime, stacking those up across the class, you can almost tell who's going to get a C or an F and who's going to get an A in the class just by how much volume information they put in here. Is it correct? No. Is it always accurate to the math? No. But does that math describe why it does it like that? Absolutely. Okay, so when we change out the values of a Bernoulli or a voltage or a current, like, we don't need to know it's a VCR. It's working on a 1.5, 120 through resistors, through reductions, through systems that actually make the photons line up in a straight line. That does a certain thing like a boot camp. Minus E, electrons, I'll put a pawn on you. You're on the chessboard doing NP, MP, PT test. This is a military prison, right? Except for you're in the version anti-up of being the good or bad indicator of what that physics correlates to and how that course goes. Obviously, as hard as it can be, there are feeds and speeds that have to be correlated to. One of the advantages of military or schools or things like that is you actually pose an advantage. The other way of doing this is a Pavlovian dog, where I stick jumper cables up to your balls and we shock you until you figure out the right answer. So it can be faster. Of course, the math on that is drag. got to come up somewhere. It's going to pop up somewhere. Make sure you understand those wave functions of pressure in the tube, right? Got to go up to this house up here mathematically for Bernoulli's or modern physics, or me just applying that value as the modern physics, and you guys build houses off of it, right? You put your house into it on that hillside over there, up the hill, how much working joules, the friction, the slope, all those things that can go with your house or where you're stationed at the moment, the field, Einstein's field theory equation. That's your new house. They were always in superposition just because somebody didn't pop up the math in this building here today. Okay, we're looking for it. So one of the things we're looking for here today is modern physics or physics class. You know, I want something that's outside the hat. Tell me some things about working joules. I want to know about voltage. I want to know the changeover in current of real things, because a VCR is something I can go grab a hold of, right? I can go crack that thing open and I can follow along with the class, but if you just expect me to figure out JavaScript from here off of the murder button, you're going to have a problem, right? And a lot of people that don't really realize how far they were ahead of that kind of have a hard time adjusting why somebody can't really figure it out. Well, this droid right here is modern physics. Okay, this damn murder button right here, about, let's see which one we're in here. Yeah, sure, we'll play this. About the murder button. Button, press me, pop-ups, apps, controls, dialogues, and list, and XYZ functions. Okay, so what's so important about a button, a toggle, a switch, and a clicker, this bar, or these systems here? What you'll find is it is physics. It's a ball, it's the air, it's this saw, it's you're that ball, you're those kinds of systems inside of here. Let's see if we can get this back up. What you doing, droid? Much better. Alright, so you wouldn't think about the position on the screen, would you? You wouldn't think about the size of something. But those things matter in a multi-world universe to web page design. It's great that you had the design set up. Can you give me in that form a few different models of, well, let's change the position, let's change the size, the recognition, the color of those systems, how it's orientated on the page? Well, I mean, mathematically speaking, of course, you'll have organizations of field theories and have to arrange those students with whatever preconditions they have in dual diagnosis, or the black body, the radiation, the ball in water, the ball in oil, ball in fluorohydramonium acid, right? You know, they all kind of correlate to different XYZ vectors, right? And therefore, at the end result, when you graph somebody's usage of that page, it's physics. They come in here, they do things. There's immediate things where gravity pulls them straight into a thing. I can tell by a prime number. I can tell by setting that situation up. And so I'm basically playing with the button. I'm basically changing its position. I'm changing the color, how big it is, the orientations of all of those things in web page design, because I'm setting up the field. I'm saying inside of there, this game of chess is me operating movements, and now that game is done, chess is designed, a lot of people get caught in that middle phase of master masonry of the death contract gambit. The field is hydrogen. It can play off in a game of chess, but the difference is very radical. You know, this is business, but it's also land nav and topology for ranging machine gun nests. First, you got to do the recon. I got to know I'm in there for that. I got to know I have the costs, otherwise I'm just some pawn taking the field. Right? And I don't want to be in that position. I want to make sure the recon on the physics over here, make sure it correlates the best action for those things, because then the job detail plus the thing equal the costs, and these numbers make sense. Yes? Okay. Who agrees? Raise your hand. All right. Good. Any questions? So again, you'll get into a lot of this modern day physics, and one of the real dangerous things about it when you do actually start to do this thing is this is psychology, especially when you get into mathematics, and it's hard to take you away from that. The answer is n1 half to these values, magnetic north, polar north, true north, safety, quality, quantity, slip, trips, and falls. and whatever time fourth dimension is, and it can be any of those things at a time, and they're just going to slam you. IH, Maxwell, fundamental forces. You're going to get into those things, and they don't mean shit from that point in stage. Let me be very clear to you, other than the memorization of you N1-halving these field theory manuals later. In N1-half, I got to have a key, I got to have a compass in terms of what north is here. Here a lot of times you'll say the triple integrals. That's what north is on change in delta for Skull Mountain on land topology in this class. Same deal. There's rabbits over there. Instead of living in our happy little home over here, we are over here. The dragon lives over here. Just by the virtue, we had to move.
Times of crisis push us to innovate.
So he's the teacher. Usually a time curve on this one is real nasty.
One more jump.
It's like a drill sergeant or bar or manager. He's going to do little things that inherently through the class, it's the burrs on this piece of katana you have to take off. And over years, you'll watch something like Leonard, General Relativity, where it's super smooth. Like, no problems with a 25-year-old kid in class or doing it. It's squared. A lot of competition in here. This math problem, like I said, can I do the brick and jars conjecture just in the middle of class? Do you understand? Yeah, I'm just going to bust out my gap, and I'm going to start running down saw programs on a snowflake about the axis of...
But the point is, this is a 2D concept. That's
of the floor.
Idea. The area on a plane is a 2D
you know, I'm
idea.
from the palm position. However, this is how we load. This is basically the snowflake in there. Let's just put the axis somewhere on a Penzero inside here. Through one white black hole into a black hole, or the singularities of this state are that black hole I'm traveling through to get to another point in the cylinder, raising up on ramps for the Hadron Collider. But basically, again, that's how you raise. That's how you make the diagonal move inside here is force change times delta, right? Or derivative of D, the D in the room. You know the D in the room, well, you got to figure out the force and change it, right? You know, that's what all that IH is screaming at you for. Doesn't mean kill it. Well, 45, man, let's do the graph. If they wind up getting crushed by it, that's on them. That's nothing because you gave them every opportunity and a number to follow with that. And if they get underneath that, that is on them. Right? You can warn them, you can advise, you can see the turbulence in the forecasting. Okay, and that's a lot about this internal spin. This is a lot about a command directive. A command directive is a very generalized statement of here's some of the main bullet points inside here. It's going to give it a lot of the inertia. It's going to tell you what direction it's spinning, but I don't know how long it'll be out there or when you look at this, how that'll correlate to. So I have to design it in a superposition way for the internal spin and momentum and top flavor. You know, when you're in general, there's lots of different types of general. When you're stonemason, there's sawyers, there's operators, there's ground guys. Those are the command directives of those positions. At the top of general, you can do those things. You can actually do the field models of the burn guy or the pallet guys. You can watch the managers and make sure that they're training guys correctly with the 45. You know, you'll find that all these keys are going to be similar all the time. I had -1, 0, and 1 in any orientation, how that might come off. -1, 0, 1, 0, 1, whatever. -1, 1, 0. It's gonna come off in that way because I caught it in the play as a positive and then a -1, not a 0. And sometimes the turnovers of the 45 of burning rock isn't just stock. It tells me about that stock. You know, obviously that's the money of the day, but am I percentageably better than any other average mean inside of there, or a negative cost faculty? When I'm saying, is it really 0? Right, those are 45s. It takes time. You're going to have to add up days that are X's, you know, hours, whatever that integral inside of this is. Alright, so like I said, we're not doing anything math-wise here. It kills me. It drives me crazy, Leonard. He'll spend the whole class just doing fundamentals. The important part is you don't know what math may teach you out there. Maybe one of them's great with integrals. I'm trying to catch that advantage by knowing them good enough in integrals. That's what benefit you get out here. Not only that, you'll get a lot of the speaking problems. Not just how to explain it in its totality, but also see how the reactions of the kids from an overhead happen. And if you did that by times over courses, you would see that there's an alpha, there's a beta, there's a female, there's a standard model, a V at the top to the questions when they come off. And if they don't come up, it would be weird. Hopefully they do. We're playing blue phase, yellow phase, red phase about something come up on a wording here. Usually I'd get this, it sound a certain way. Who in here in the class understands? Who gets physics? I mean, who really can understand energy and working joules, economics by a different value because it's now explained to them in something that is sensible?
So if f of x is a mass density function of the wire, so
we get out here in the stone mill, like I said, you know, sometimes this stuff turns into a moral contract of master masons trying to sell something to a kid that they've never met, and you're not part of the masons. It's like, you got to give it to me, not because I'm a mason, not because I'm your master, not because you're not free. I'm telling you, if you got to mark the rock that way because the boss is giving you the thing, and I had to do that before. I'm trying to save you life. I'm trying to save you time. I'm trying to save me energy. Your money is my money, brother. I want to make sure that you get as much of it as you can so you stay satisfied, because that'll help me take some ease off of my system when you decide that those numbers aren't good enough anymore. I know because I've lived it.
What's that going to give us? It's going to give us all three. The x.
That's our no for right now. Okay, let's see. Well, maybe we got a couple more minutes. So the economics on this later on become boot barn. I'm not going to let you touch another stock outside of boot. You're not even allowed to put money on stocks in this class. And you did that personally because you think on the first day I've given you enough information and it works for you. That's possible. It's absolutely possible. But in this class, if you would like to grade for this, we will be studying boot barn fundamentally for the next 6 weeks. Before you go and do anything, paper trade this thing. We're going to find out what Pythagorean theorems are. What's the bull market on boot barn? What's the bear market on boot barn? Can we go through them as a class and make those decisions and come together over a math problem that actually is pretty sensible in real world?
Well, the triple integral can
sure.
still give us two things.
That's just like the 45 on the tread line. Just like the 45 in a gas station. Just like the 45 Special Forces McDonald's training it will receive. Just in case.
But here's the problem. If this area is
it's inventory, it's management, it's crew training, it's labor, it's cost on the floor to whether you send somebody home or not, given gravity rules. You'll figure them out. Catch you on the next one.